Wow, before TLC, there was a lot going on in my life, and I always think that it was leading to TLC.
My name is Dave Armstrong, and I'm Jack's stepfather. I worked at Ford's. I retired from Ford's, and I made arrangements, helped get him a job there, and it was all family orientated back then, and then he met Johnny, and that was a great thing. Those two guys are great together.
I was always driven. I was always wanting more out of life, whether that be, from a family aspect, relationships, maybe financial as well. Right? I always wanted, to do more and be more.
We were entrepreneurs. We just wanted more than what we were getting at Ford. We wanted the more experiences. We wanted to travel the world. We wanted to change lives. So there was a lot going on, at least in our heads. Now, this is, 90s, so you could run these strange ads on the internet. I started getting orders. I'm trying to remember how it all went down, but we started getting orders.
We used to go around the kitchen table and do what we had to do, the little bit of packing we had, and then take it to the post office, and then it graduated from there to the basement.
Then the word gets out a little bit in the network marketing community, and then I would say I'd probably get 10 orders a day, and then finally I needed Loretta because I was still working at Ford.
One day he says to me, "Do you think you could answer the phones while I'm at work at Ford's?" I said, "No." I said, "You don't want nobody to know you're working out of the basement. This is where you're starting up." I said, "What's going to happen when they hear the kids crying?"
And then it just, slowly grew, day by day. You're just, grinding it out. And then I recruited Johnny to help, probably like a year later.
More orders were coming in than we could physically process. We didn't have enough people. More phone calls could come in than we could answer. There wasn't even enough hours in the day to call the people back, because by the time we started getting to the list, it was 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. You can't call people at midnight, right? So you would try again tomorrow, but more calls would come in.
And then the amount of calls that we were getting in Spanish were overwhelming. The phones were ringing off the hook. We had a neighbor working for us. She actually worked with Rosa at JCPenney.
Oh, yes, that's a question that I've been asked many times. How did I get to join Total Life Changes? But before Total Life Changes, I was just a mom. I was a home state mom for over 10 years. I used to work in JCPenney, and that's how I met Jack's neighbor and babysitter, and that's how this whole thing started.
So Jack says, "Well, see if she'd want to work here, right?" So she asked her, and she said, yeah, she'd be interested if, I called her, right?
So once I told Marianne, okay, I will go ahead and meet them, or, just find out what it is all about. I remember she saying, well, let me see how this is going to roll. Because it would be kind of strange for me to go to an interview to their house, right? It was kind of all weird. And that's how they decided that Loretta was going to meet me at Panera Bread.
Jack pulls me aside. He goes, "If you like her, bring her back." I don't think I was gone 15 minutes and I was back with Rosa.
I started 4 hours the first day. And then the second day, I stayed there for almost 6 hours. Because he keeps saying, just take one more call. Just take one more call and then you can go. After so many years of knowing Jack, I'm sure that sounds very familiar for the people that really get to know him. Just one more call.
So we ended up moving into I guess we'll call it an office. It was a 1,500 square foot warehouse that had about 400 square feet of office space in it.
Mr. Jack Fallon says, okay, there's no way Rosa's going to be enough. We got to hire more people. Then a few more people came over. It was all Spanish speaking. Beautiful young ladies, one of them being Natalie. Natalie was from day number 1, and so does Lucy.
My first day, I was so nervous that I got a migraine headache, and I actually got sick. I remember that I'm like, yeah, I have a headache, I don't feel well, let me go use the bathroom, and I just like threw up. So like that was on the first day. No, I stayed. I played it cool, like like I was okay. Yeah, that's what I do.
I heard about Total Life Changes from a previous employee. I was looking for a job. She knew I was looking for a job, so she reached out to me and said, hey, we need Spanish speaking, and are you interested in joining the team? It was 3 of us when I started, so it was like 5 desks, and it was just 3 of us taking calls. We would take turns to the mornings, even evenings.
I look back and I think like it's funny that like I just didn't know that the other person that was in that office, like sharing an office with us, was Jack.
And yes, we sat by this guy, and we always ask, who is this guy? So then I asked him once, I said, hey, like, what do you do here? He's like, oh, don't worry about me, I'm just a janitor. And it turns out it was Mr. Jack Fallon.
Jack's son Nick played with Riley up in Port Huron, and I heard through the grapevine that he was looking for some people. He was getting busy, so I approached him and I said, hey, Jack, you think maybe I could get a job at TLC part-time, and he goes, heck yeah, you can start tomorrow, we could use you. I'm like, all right. So I ended up starting the next day, and then started working more, and Jack was like, hey, can you stay till midnight at least? We got to get all these orders out and stuff like this. And then I told him one day, I'm like, hey, you know what? I got somebody that could, help you out with kicking out orders. He's a pretty smart kid. I said, that's my son, Evan. I'm like, he's like, what? How old is he? I said, he's only about 14, or something like that. I think he was right around 14, 15, something like that.
Well, the day before I officially started with TLC, I was coming off my 8th grade spring break. So I was 14 years old. I was coming off, we probably went to Florida or something that year. But I was so excited to start my first day. There was just something about it. And I just remember on my first day, I came in at 3:30. That's when I started, right out of school. And the rest of the employees until the afternoon shift worked until 4. So I was trained from 3:30 to 4, and then everyone left. And so I had to figure out like, okay, this button does that, and this label goes here. And yeah, day number 1, that's how it started. I got 30 minutes of fresh training, and I was like hitting the ground running after that. I literally picked my head up, and I'm like doing my thing. I picked my head up, and the girl that was training me was just like gone. Like didn't even say bye or anything. I'm like, all right, here we go. That was the start.
Jack and Jenny and my wife Kelly and I, we started hanging out like in the mid 90s, became pretty good friends. Actually, Jack introduced me to network marketing. In 2012, Jack told me they were going to do an event in Las Vegas at the Monte Carlo Casino. And I was like, really? I was like, can I come? So he's like, yeah, for sure. So I got to meet a lot of the girls that are still with us. Natalie, Lucy, Rosa. Of course, Jack and John were there, and the event was all in Spanish. And so shortly after that, Jack reached out to me. They were just getting ready to publish the first version of the Total Life Changes website. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He wanted me to review the website, so I reviewed the entire website, looking at all the copies. Like, do you ever do any copywriting? And I'm like, no, man, never did any copywriting, but let me take a look at everything. So that really introduced me to the products we had at that time.
And the next thing you know, like, it wasn't that long where we're like, we need more room. And so the place next door opens up. And so we add another 2,000 or 2,500 square feet. We thought that was so much room, right? Like, oh, we're gonna be good for a couple years. Like, here's our trajectory and our plan. But it's kind of like now we had room again to grow, and we grew. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. And that's kind of sort of that kind of sort of kept on repeating itself up to and including this facility that we're in today. We moved in 2015. In 2014 is when we looked at it, and I remember we drove here, we toured it, and it's like the same thing, or it's like Groundhog's Day, same thing over and over again. Like, I don't need all that. That place is huge. Like, it's too much for us. It's irresponsible.
I personally never thought, I'm like, this is huge. Like, we won't need another office. Like, it was huge. We had open offices at that time. The warehouse floor was huge. We didn't have any additions to it. It was big. It was really big for us.
Right? Like, we don't need all that space and that expense. And, you know, we took the leap of faith again. And guess what? We ran out of room. We've expanded here 3 times, right? We've added offices. We've added different, facilities here and different things and changed it around. And it was just like, wow, like, you really learn, like, sometimes you only get what you're able to accept. Where are we now? I'm so darn proud of where we are now.
I would say the thing that I'm most proud of in the past 20 years is the perseverance of the ups and downs of this business model, and knowing that whatever comes our way, whatever battle we need to fight, we're never out of the fight. And that speaks volumes with the people in this building, with all of our offices, and the people in the field. People come and go, but the people that really stick continue to fight and persevere.
You stop, you think, you look back, man, that was worth it. That was worth it. When you think about all those moments, when you think about all of those great moments, and even the not so great moments, it led us to today. I wouldn't change a thing.